Looking at the front, most of these churches were cross sections. So we have this way across, going all the way out towards where we entered into the St. John's Basilica. And on this other side, you have, looks like going to the treasury, another arm of that. Then obviously the whole length of the church going this way. So you notice also up on capitals up above of the emperor's signature, cross above it. And each one of these have, I think it's not the same, different ones. Coming into St. John's Basilica, you can see all sorts of things. They reuse some older marble. Like this here looks like an older marble there. It represented something from maybe a temple from before. Not sure what those images are. That's beautiful. You have the holes here. Sometimes you had crosses set in stone in the marble. Sometimes you had carved graffiti or carved crosses into these. Again, maybe a cross was hanging from here. But this place is full of a lot of different crosses, images in different ways. So you got the exterior, you got the middle section where the Apostle John was buried. Underneath this area in the past, got some old mosaics that are still here. And even far over there, you find some frescoes actually remains in that side of that building there. Don't miss that. And in the back part here on the right, you can see some, I think, the baptismal place. So what I like about here is you can go to this church, you can see how they were. They have the apse facing direction. I believe the Hagia Sophia, same direction. But then you can see behind it, there was a section that the priest could go through or come from, and probably most likely on the right side they had a way. This could have been an entryway, maybe lower, but they were back here, and this thing goes around the apse. It's very interesting in the sense that some places you don't see that, or you see a path, but it kind of shows a little bit what was concerned at. So underneath this spot is where John was buried. And you can see it goes down. Now you go down below, and again over there's another spot going down below. This place, this basilica, has more crosses, just like the Hagia Sophia. So many different crosses and panels that were marking the place. This is where the priests would be, and then you have here another section, altar area. And then you have another actually altar area, and the people would stand on the sides. So it's been through different renovations. Beautiful marbles, beautiful panels. So there's a lot to see here to visit. This place also was a emperor mandated church or commissioned church. You see some of the purple marble on this corner here. Different purple marbles coming through. I'm going to go over to the baptism and record that. We have a lot of people coming in here, so we can see the frescoes over here. So one section over here is the treasury section, and then we can see the frescoes. Let's see if we can see some of the remains from here. So we go into here. This is the frescoes that have been locked up. I'm going to put my phone inside so we can see some of the remaining frescoes in this little chapel that's covered up. So it looks like an angel. Actually, the halo makes it look like an angel, but there's three figures there. I'd have to look it up online which ones they were. I don't see names along the side of them, but probably the walls also had frescoes on both sides. And then beautiful marble, different shaped marble. Over here you have that building there. So this is kind of a worship space, and on the north side of the St. John's Basilica. It looks like this area was the kitchen area, but also you had just different little rooms and sections. You have actually on top here, you can see the cross here on the top part. And then you can see this statement that is mentioned here with a cross starting with some key phrase or commissioned idea what this area is. Love his mosaics. Unfortunately, they're left out to the ruins, so let's tape them so we know for the future what they are. Got some cross patterns. There's a cross there. You see these in the church. You see these also in Ephesus. So we know that here's hearts, like a cross that was like a shape of the heart in there, the dark hearts. Fortunately, a lot of these have deteriorated because of the elements. But again, you have here the 4-petal representation. These here could be, who knows, it could have been a grave. But it seemed like there's some chamber that used to be here. And you can see the waves and waves of petals that you see, like layers on the upper part there. So some of these also were, like you see, these patterns are in churches. So you can see that they were found here in this church of the 7th century, 6th, 7th century. Right next to this is also the baptism section, so you'll find tons of crosses. You have little shelves here, cross, but then you have, I'm coming from the east here. People would enter from the west, going towards the east into this baptism. And it had the little squares on each side, whether the priest or somebody would stand there. But it also becomes more like a shape of a cross altogether. And here you have, I believe, crosses all around. Let's see, you have a lot of marble. And all the marble figure, all the cross figures like at St. Mary's over in Ephesus. It's not found in this section. But again, octagon, I believe. And see, there's some of the pillars. There's a cross, probably in one of the entry or exit ways. You can see here even the cloves or clubs, or how do you want to describe that? Hearts shaped images. Coming through here, you can see also that, again, crosses are everywhere, as if it's a grave, death, and baptism. You died to Christ and raised and walked in newness of life. Even this little stone here has a cross here at the beginning. What's someone's name? Another grave here with some representation. Could have been reused. A few more, so it's very possible they had graves or little sections outside this baptism area. I think we're getting this area over here is where the kitchen area was. But again, you have the baptism here, and then you have an outer layer again, large building that existed all around here. So in St. John's Basilica, you can see from here, it's quite a big, massive site. Coming up here, all the different capitals in the area they found. I know some of them have crosses on them. I saw them before, but currently I can't find any. It seems like a lot of things have changed. Right up there, Seljuk, I have a video about discovering, or at least write up about some of the crosses up that way. I wanted to come up here and find the cross, couldn't find them, and right here it is. It's the entryway cross right here, sitting right at the beginning of this whole section. Oh, and another one right here, at this little section here. You'd walk right by it, not seeing it, that's a cross there. There's one on this side, nope, but on that one side it is. Sometimes you can look at these things on some of the side, even there, see there's a cross right there. So there's 3 right here in this section. Again, there's a cross, it's upside down. Of course, would be the capital on top of a pillar or an entry stone. So you have 3 right here in this section on this corner, looking over at St. John's Basilica. I get up to the Seljuk castle, which I'm not going to go to, but this is a pure capital, a massive capital that sat on its own, which is amazing in the sense of a cross on that side. It's been rubbed out. You can see the cross here, 3D images on this large 3D pure capital. You can see some entry stones right there. It's a lovely entry stone on a wave section. Again, another cross there. Another entry stone here. On the back side maybe didn't have one, but the 3-sided pure capital, a massive pure capital that it sits here in the middle of the yard, which was part of probably the major entryway to, or courtyard of the St. John's Basilica. So very interesting, very amazing pier capital, one of the largest ones I've ever seen in Asia Minor. Coming down here from the workstation of this area, you see the kitchen and other things that exist in this area. And this is probably where they did a lot of cooking back in the day for large group gatherings. The amazing capitals of how many and in what capacity. They're just everywhere. And this place was a massive structure. Even where I'm walking currently below this is, I think, at least one or two sections you can't really go to free. You can see from a distance. But we're looking here beyond that hillside there. That's the hillside here. The lower hillside is Ephesus. That direction, and looking straight ahead, would be out to the water where the bay is. There beyond is the harbor, way off there, in 8-9 kilometers away now. Down in this section between this facility, which is 2 stories up, in the Isa Bay Mosque, which was built much later, you can see this section of digs, and it just go farther down that way on the right. And this was an old monastery area that the Byzantines used. And so you can still see some evidence, some chapels and other things down there. So don't miss that when you come over here. You just got to look off the edge, but hard to see what exactly is down there. But that's what happens. You can see a little courtyard, important section down there. It's something covered that's probably important. Some ancient walls. And it just keeps going along this ridge here down below. If you look in this angle, you're looking back towards the altar, you can see the second layer and the third layer up. Like those pillars would say that this building was maybe 3 tiers tall, at least up on the ground, this ground level, and 2 below. So we're talking about a very massive building that the Byzantines built. Even over here you can see going down a little bit. If it's original or what, but it goes down to a lower section, a room that was down there. Looking out over the harbor, you can see this is how one of these entry stones would be. This is a massive pillar with a stone on top going by the door. On the south side you see these 2 pillars, just in the main section, I guess the main section of the church with the cross. You have this cross here with a cross below, something written there on the right side. It looks like George the Episcopalian Archbishop had mentioned there, and with a name on top. Dare try. And just the section just right to that, you'll see one of the largest graves of capitals with crosses. You will see tons of capitals with crosses everywhere. Every single one of these, 20, 30 of them, have these capitals. And you can see they were on top of these pillars at one time, and each one has a cross, the cross. The Byzantines loved one thing, and they loved was the cross. And it says in Revelation that you've lost your first love. And we know that they loved the cross at the beginning, they loved Christ. And then later on, at the Council of Ephesus, they changed their focus from Jesus and the cross to Mary, the Mother of God. And so that was quite a difference. And later on, things changed too. Again, the major theme around everywhere we see is the cross.